Hey guys, in this video we'll be continuing with the Visual C Sharp in Visual Studio tutorial by Microsoft. So we'll be going over Microsoft's framework for Visual C Sharp. So this is the second tutorial. Hopefully you have gotten set up properly. You have to, I think we got the first part of the video where you have to start a Windows form application using C Sharp and not Visual Basic. Hopefully you're able to install everything. So let's start with some of the concepts. So we're going to be using the GUI interface, pretty much kind of like the drag and drop area. So there's different stuff. We'll get used to some of the different windows here. So we have like properties. We'll have the toolbox. We'll work with the toolbox, the properties, and the Solutions Explorer to start. So this is our form here. It's called Form 1 as default. It's basically a window. So a window, and when you create a window, like for example you click on something. Whoops, not that. Let's say you click on something on a Windows PC. So this is done on a Windows PC. Again, if you're on Mac, you're going to have to download the Mac version. So just a window on Windows on a Windows PC is, when you create it, it's called a form. So it starts off as this black, or I think it's a different color because I'm in night mode. But it's some window. It comes with default, 3 default buttons at the top: minimize, maximize, and close. The text. So we'll get into this in a sec, but the text is set to Form 1 in the properties. So this is a properties window. So the text of the text property is set to Form 1. If you change that name, this name will get changed. The variable name, or the what do they call it? They call it something with an I. Identifier, I think they call. Basically, that's a variable. If you change the variable or identifier name here from Form 1 to something else, it won't appear here. It's just gonna. That's how you call it. If because you can code this. We're gonna be coding this later. The same thing. You can code it, drag and drop. Code it. Sometimes it's faster to drag and drop. It's good to know drag and drop stuff just in case. So yeah. So let's get into some of the basic stuff. So we have, this is our Visual Studio environment. If you've never used Visual Studio before, it's different than Visual Studio Code. It has this different interface with different tools and stuff that you need for maybe like app development, Windows development, stuff like that. So this is a designer window. This, I think it's this whole thing here behind this kind of gray window behind everything. That's the designer window. You use a designer window to create an app's graphical user interface, or GUI. So the designer window shows the app's form, so this is a form here, Form 1. And so the designer window allows you to visually design its appearance by placing desired controls. So a control is like a button or a scroll bar, toolbar, panel, stuff like that. We'll talk about that in a sec. So you can design its appearance by placing the desired controls that will appear on the form when the application executes. So the designer window, so once again the designer window shows the app's form and allows you to visually design its appearance by placing the desired controls that will appear on the form when the application executes. So you can basically just drag and drop stuff on the form. So the form is a container to hold stuff. So you can think of a container as like something to store things, so you can put controls in the container, or on the container basically. Basically in the container, which is gonna look like on. So if you drag and drop a button here, which we will in a sec, basically you're putting something in the container. Basically putting a button on this window, but it's called a form. So we'll get into all that in a sec. So the solutions window explorer, we've already talked about that. A solution is a container for holding Visual C# projects. So when you create a new C# project, a new solution is automatically created to contain it. The Solutions Explorer window allows you to navigate among the files in a Visual C# project. So that's just this thing here. Sometimes it may be over here. If you're missing these things, like you can't find properties or Solutions Explorer or the toolbox or anything, just go to View, click on View. It's in here somewhere. It may be in auto hide, maybe hidden, so just look for them somewhere around here. Just look around in there, play around with that, you'll find it. Click it and then it should appear. Okay, so we're working with form1.cs. Something's kind of lagging. Nope, sorry, not form1.cs, so with the design, or in the design. So form1.cs, which has like square brackets and design, kind of like an array or something. So we'll move on to the properties window. A control's appearance and other characteristics are determined by the control's properties. When you are creating a Visual C# app, use the properties window to examine and change a control's properties. So that's everything here. It's scrollable, they got different things depending on what you're using. So yes, we'll talk about this in a sec. So Visual Studio is a customizable environment. You can move the windows, different windows around. It may not look like this. I think I moved the properties window over. I may have moved the solutions box. I clicked it and somehow it started to appear over here. It might be over here somewhere, like on the right side. So hopefully you guys can find it. Again, just use the view in the main toolbar at the top. Find it in the view panel somewhere in there if you're missing something. You may have to turn auto hide on or off or something. If you're still stuck, just Google it. Why am I missing, for example, the properties window? It'll tell you. So designer window, solutions, explorer window, and properties window. So they're called windows. This is a window, that's a window, and this is a window, but it's on the tab right now. I think it's actually supposed to be down here on the right side, below the properties or above the properties. So something like that. So if you don't see anything, once again, you can click View on the menu bar. On the View menu, click Solutions Explorer. So this textbook that I learned from is from 2015. Should be something like that. Same with properties or anything else. The toolbar, the toolbox or anything. So some stuff may be in auto hide once again. Auto hide might be triggered with the push pin icon. Some kind of push pin icon around here, you may see it. Which may be hiding things. Properties tab may be tabbed on the right somewhere, kind of just like this. On the left side we have some tabs here. That you may see some tabs here on your own machine, if you still can't find it. So we have the menu bar and the standard toolbar. So the menu bar is the bar at the top of the Visual Studio window, so that's this thing here. File, edit, view, all that. Help, window, tools. That's the menu bar, I believe. So below the menu bar is the standard toolbar. The standard toolbar contains buttons that execute commands. For example, this stuff here. So below the menu bar we have the standard toolbar. You can like navigate through different of your different files, create a new project, save, open, undo, save all, redo, that kind of stuff, debug, solution, platform, find, start debugging, that kind of stuff, which is different than file, edit, view, help, and all that. Okay, so moving on to the toolbox. The toolbox is a window that allows you to select the controls that you want to use in an app's user interface. When you want to place a button, for example, a label, text box, or any other controls on an app's form, you can select it in the toolbox. You'll use the toolbox a lot if you're using the GUI, this kind of GUI interface, drag and drop, for your apps. So it may be an auto hide, so the toolbox is here on the left side, it should be. So you have different, so there's a different tab here, kind of drop down icons, so you can choose common controls, which is what I'm in, so it probably will look like that to start. General has some different, no, it doesn't have anything, so all Windows forms will have more stuff. So as you can see, we got different controls, pointer, so pointer, button, checkbox, combo box, different views, list views and stuff, similar terms from Android, stuff like that. You can create a label, a tooltip, radio button, so same themes from JavaFX as well, if you've watched that series of mine. Android series should have been up. Apologize, I'm kind of behind on videos. So we have, text box, so different kinds of tools and stuff, containers, all that. So we'll just stick with the common controls for now. Different views, tree views, we're going to be getting into all that, so don't worry about that. So that's it. You just click it if you want something. We'll drag a button on in a sec. Alright, so moving on to the next topic. Tooltips. So a tooltip is a small rectangular box that pops up when you hover the mouse pointer over a button on the toolbar, anything else, basically any form or anything. So we'll be creating tooltips later on. We'll probably just skip this for now. So basically it tells you the, like for example, a button's purpose. You've seen them before. So like if I hover over file, should get something. No. Okay, if I hover over this, it'll say something. I'm not sure if you can see that. It'll say new project, control plus shift plus N. That's what a tooltip is. If you hover over something, it tells you what it is. Not all of them will have it, but some will. So this is our default app, our form, which is basically the app. Well, this whole thing's the app, but this is a form for now. So I think if you actually hover over close later on, it should tell you that it wants to close or something, and maybe give you like a keyboard shortcut or something like that. So some windows may be docked or floating. To change a window from docked to floating, right click its title bar and select float. Vice versa for dock, so you can change it to float or dock. So dock should kind of put it on the side or something. You can think of like docking a boat or something. If you want it to float, you can just think of it like it's floating around on the screen. Alright, so we'll move on to the next topic. So projects and solutions. As you learn to program in Visual C Sharp, you'll see the terms project and solution used often. These terms do not mean the same thing, but they are sometimes used in the same kind of general way. So each Visual C Sharp app that you create is called a project. A Visual C Sharp project consists of several files. You can think of a project as a collection of files that belong to the single app, or to a single app. A solution is a container that holds one or more Visual C Sharp projects. If you're developing apps for a large, okay, we'll skip that. Although it is possible for a solution to hold more than one project. Okay, so we'll skip that too. So just think we have a solution as the main thing with different projects inside, which are basically the files. I think you guys know how to save a file and open an existing project. We'll skip that. Auto hide we talked about. If you're missing something, just use the view button at the top, or one of the push pins. So to access the Visual Studio documentation, you can go to, or you can click on your keyboard, on a Windows keyboard, Control plus F1, so at the same time I think, and then press V, or Control plus F1 at V at the same time, or Control plus F1 and then V quickly, something like that. You should get taken to a page on the internet. Alright, so that should be pretty much the first tutorial. Kind of getting started with Visual Studio 2022. I don't think there's a 2023 version yet. So I don't think there's a 2023 version yet, so we're using VS Studio 2022. That should be pretty much everything for the first tutorial. So we've gone over the Solutions, Explorer, the Properties window, and the Toolbox window, or tab, the Designer window, the different toolbars, the menu bar, the standard toolbar, how to hide and find stuff if you're missing things, where the docs are. So the docs provide C# docs and Visual Studio docs, so just you can use the shortcut that I mentioned. Just some other things here. So we named this my first project. Can practice turning on the auto hide feature on and off. The push pin, practice floating and docking stuff. The different windows. You can close the different windows and open them again. Maybe not, that might be confusing. That should be all. So yeah, that's pretty much the first tutorial. So in the next tutorial we'll be actually working with the controls. We'll move some stuff onto the form like a button. We'll work with the size, the name, the text, maybe some other properties, maybe add 2 buttons, stuff like that. So that'll be in the second tutorial. And then later on we'll be continuing. So thanks for watching. If you guys liked the tutorial, you can give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to support the channel and you'd like to see more programming or investing tutorials, you can subscribe to the channel if you'd like, for more languages, coding, investing stuff, making bots. So thanks for watching, guys. So hopefully I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Take care.